They said, you have stage 4 colon cancer at 27 weeks pregnant. I was like,
Wow.
what? This is impossible. Like, how can this be? And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I don't have cancer. Like, you guys have the wrong room. You have the wrong patient. This is going through my mind. So I said to them, what do we do? Like, what is the next step? And the doctor said, you have 3 to 6 months to live and you're going to die. And I was like, what? Like, you're talking to a young mom that is pregnant. The only thing I could think of is just trying to save my life and the baby's life. Round 1 of chemo, I was able to have a baby and being a mom, but also dealing with cancer at the same time. And once I had Colin, it was just like, I have a miracle baby. We're both miracles.
Welcome to the Inheritance of Hope podcast. Every day, 562 children lose a parent to terminal illness. They shouldn't have to face that alone. You can pretend to avoid the painful realities of illness, grief, and death, or you can deal with the real stuff in caring community. On the podcast, people in Inheritance of Hope's community share raw, personal stories of pain, trials, and the shadow of death, which are also stories of joy in terminal illness. Find more Inheritance of Hope community at inheritanceofhope.org. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Inheritance of Hope podcast. I'm Ellie, your host, and today we're going to unpack a beautiful story that has been shared nationwide before. And so our guest is familiar with sharing her story, and we're really honored to have her on our podcast today and kind of share it within the Inheritance of Hope community. So go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Alyssa Kelly. I am 42 years old, and I have my spouse Chris, and I have a son named Colin, who is 4, who has autism, and we have a little dog named Peanut, and he's about like 8, so it's really cute. Just the 4 of us. I don't work right now. I am a stay-at-home mom fighting cancer. And my son, Colin, he just keeps us on our toes day and night. And he's in school full time, Monday through Friday. So he's in the morning group, just trying to keep up with them. And he just keeps me happy, keeps me proud, every day and night, just doing fun activities and things. And my husband and I met back in 2008 or 13. We met at a Super Bowl party, and we've been dating for 5 years. And then a year later, in 2018, we got married. And we were both working as full time, and I was working for facilities, and I became seasonal for Cantini, which is in Wheaton, Illinois. It's a big park, and I was working there for 4 years. And I was having some morning sickness, and I was having some like taste buds were like changing, and then I found out I was pregnant with our first son, and I was like full of joy. And it was the first marriage, first child for Chris and I. And was having some symptoms in my, I wasn't sure what was going on, and things were not adding up. Like I was losing, I Googled some things, and I was reading the book of what to expect when you're expecting. And it was just an incredible book to read when you're first pregnant. And one of the things was to gain weight. And then I was like, I wasn't gaining weight with my pregnancy. I like lost, and I was so skinny that I lost weight through my whole pregnancy. And I was 27 weeks pregnant, and I was getting more sickness, and my morning sickness was just getting worse and worse and worse. and it was like something's wrong with the baby, and came to find out, I went to my OB, and she looked in the ultrasound, and she says to me, "What is this black spot?" Like, do the ultrasound, and I said, "I don't know what this black spot is." So then we end up going to Chicago, downtown Chicago, and they told me, "You have a tumor that's growing inside you, and what's pressing, the baby's is pressing on your tumor that is inside of you." So I'm like, I have a tumor and I'm growing a human inside me at the same time. So then came out to find out, um, they were just gonna just keep me overnight like one day. And then it turned into 5 day. And then the 5 day came and they said, "You have stage 4 colon cancer at 27 weeks pregnant." I was like,
Wow.
what? I just threw the sheet over my head and I'm like,
Mm.
this is impossible. Like, how can this be? And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I don't have cancer. Like, you guys have the wrong room. You have the wrong patient. This is going through my mind, everything. And I was just like, jeez. So I said to them, what do we do? Like, what is the next step? And the doctor, who was not very professional at that time, he said, "You have 3 to 6 months to live and you're going to die." And I was
Oh.
like, what? Like, you're talking to a young mom that is pregnant. And they said, "Well, we're just going to start chemo and we're going to put a port in you. We're going to start chemo right away." And I said to them, "I have one major question. Is this going to be safe for the baby?" And they said, "We're going to make it safe for the baby." So
Mm.
with my whole entire pregnancy, I did chemotherapy, radiation, all through the 9 yards to keep this baby alive and keep myself alive.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, oh my gosh, like what is going to happen? And they're like, "Can you make it to like 34, 35, 36 weeks, for the full term for the baby?" And I said, "I'm a strong mom. I'm a strong person. I can go through this." So then I was able to make it through. I think everything was like a blur. Like, people
Mhm.
asked me like, "Do you know anything?" And I was just like, "I don't even know like when my water's gonna break. I don't even know what's gonna, when my anything is gonna happen." And I was just like, the only thing I could think of is just trying to save my life and the baby's life.
Mhm.
And so then they started, so with everything going with chemo and everything, they made it safe for the baby and for myself. And I think I had the baby again. Everything was a good blur. And I think I had a baby at 34, 35 weeks. But again, I have so much going on. It's just,
Wow.
this is crazy.
Yeah.
And so then, by round one of chemo, I was able to have a baby and be a mom, but also deal with cancer at the same time. And once I had Colin, it was just like, I have a miracle baby. We're both miracles.
Mm.
So my husband, Chris, he went and he did a lot of search of getting second opinions, getting places. He reached out to Town. He reached out to other places in the wellness house in Hinsdale, Illinois. He reached out to like places to join other groups to get a second opinion. So with my second opinion, when Colin was just 10 months old, Chicago told us that I was inoperable because of my tumor being so big. I was still having this tumor inside me after Colin was still born. So
Mm.
then he got a second opinion, and that second opinion was fly out to California. I know somebody in the group that Chris was talking to, they went out to California and they said, "Go out to California." This was my doctor who did my surgery. So with my
Mm.
surgery, I had a big major surgery. I had a partial hysterectomy, a liver resection, a colon resection, all at the
Oh,
same time. And I couldn't hold my baby for 3 months after he was 10
oh,
months. So when he was 10 months old, I couldn't hold him, like, not even like for 3 months. And he was like almost like 12 months and I couldn't even like hold him.
wow.
And we lived out there for like a month. But it was like a year of everything that was developing. And I was still going on chemo. And I started chemo when he was a baby. And it was still continuing on after a year. And I'm like, is this gonna never end?
Mm,
And with all the surgeries that I've had like 6 surgeries since I've had him. And I've done 60 rounds of chemo since I've had him. And then, still going through surgeries. I still had recently just had another surgery done. I had a surgery in the hernia. I had a hernia surgery. I have a HII pump, which is it's a pump for the liver for the because it went from stage 4, went from my admin to my liver
mm,
to my admin to my lungs. So it's like all spread at the same time to make it stage 4 colon cancer.
mm,
And with the people that were in the group for that Chris met, they went through Inherence of Hope. And
mm,
through that, they went through um, when they were talking about, you should get on with the Inherence of Hope. And then they would do so much for you, and they would take you to like, it was like Orlando, and it was like going to Florida, and they said they would do so much for you,
mm,
and it would be so much for like your family, and you can meet other families that are going through it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this would be wonderful to meet other people that are going through terminal illness, but it doesn't have to be colon cancer. It could be other kinds of cancers that other family are going through. And it was like a wonderful trip just to going to, just to get out of, Illinois and to go to Florida as a family. They always asked like, what can we provide and things. So, I mean, it's just been remarkable of how people said that we have volunteers and if you guys want to go out and do something. And so we ended up just, Chris and I just ended up going and do something and just did our own thing. And we had volunteers to watch Colin and it was nice.
mm.
2 young girls that did watch Colin and they said, here's our number and, we'll contact you. And I'm like, keep Colin as long as you guys want to. Have fun with him. Yeah, we'll have a good blast. And telling my stories in the group and then Colin would just go off and the volunteers would tell us like, oh, Colin threw an egg or he did drawings and he did this and I'm like, oh, that's so wonderful that he did that. And just hearing other people's stories, you're not alone. That's like my keyword to tell everybody. You think you're alone, but you're not alone. And that's one of my favorite lines that I kind of made that I've
Mm,
had heard. And it's actually true. And with the inherence of hope has brought so much joy and the volunteers and the people that were there to share their other stories. They said, join, there's other groups that you can go on to. So I joined the Friday morning group, and that has been really helpful. But there's been times I haven't been on for a while because one, it's like I'm too sick, I'm too tired, I have chemo. It's just everything like adds up. But I'm still part of that group, and they always think of me, think of us. They pray for us, and like, I'm still there, but it's just been hard. And the hardest part of all things is because Colin has autism, and then me having chemo has put a lot of books on my husband. There's
mm.
been a lot of books on his shoulders. And it's just trying to figure out like what's the next step gonna be.
Mm.
you're gonna wake up the next morning, or are you gonna, is this gonna be, your last time, or you're gonna wake up and this is like, it's gonna be your last day of Christmas. I've been fighting cancer for 5 years, and I've done 60 rounds of chemo, and it's just like, that would never stop. It will still
Mm.
continue on and on and on. And, I will have breaks here and there, but I will still go back on chemo. I do scans every 3 months. They're keeping their eye on me. Right now, my cancer did come back in the lungs, so that's why I'm back on chemo. But I've been in so much pain just recently because of the cancer, or it could be something, but I have scans coming up in the next couple of weeks just to see where we stand and what's going to be happening.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That is quite the story, like you said. And I know you said, you know, you have an amazing story and you love sharing it. And yeah, you're right. It is, it's really incredible, not because it's filled with good things, but because there's a lot of resilience that you and your family are displaying through hardships and still are this strong family unit. Um, Navigating what real life looks like. I think this situation is unique. Yeah, who goes into pregnancy thinking that in the midst of it you're going to get the stage 4 cancer diagnosis? And I think I've heard a lot of stories from families that we get to partner with at Inheritance of Hope that, you have kids and they're young and you're kind of starting to dream about what life will look like, what vacations you're going to go on, what they're going to be when they grow up. And then you get this cancer and it reframes all of that and makes you shift drastically. However, getting that before you even give birth to your child is kind of crazy because pregnancy in itself, there's so much to learn. It's so unpredictable. There's so much happening. And then same with cancer, and then combining those two, that is quite the combination.
Well, and there's a lot of things that as a first time mom, I didn't think to experience. I didn't experience the breastfeeding, or I couldn't even breastfeed because I was going through cancer. So, like, there was a lot of things that a real mom should experience, but I never got to. And the thing is that they said, you know what, we're ready to, I had a C-section with my baby and they had to break my water. I'm going through so much pain. It's like, what else can I go through? And it was like, that was like the hardest part was the doctors coming in, the nurses coming in. They're ready to break my water. I couldn't breastfeed. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. But the only thing that I only could think of through this whole entire process is to keep myself alive and keeping my baby alive, and growing that human inside me was the most important thing that I could ever think of.
Mm. Yeah, I think you just touched on something that a lot of people experience in different ways, but how you had this longing and this grief of like, this isn't what I got to experience. I experienced this very different reality than what I was initially thinking. And maybe it's, I thought I would get to see my kid graduate high school, and now I'm being told I'm not going to make it that long.
Yeah.
Or so I guess talk to me about what do you do with that heavy ache for something that you didn't get to experience or you won't be able to see? Like, how did you handle that grief of, oh, I didn't get to breastfeed my child. This birth and I didn't get to hold my child for 3 months. Like, how do you handle that? And what would you share with other people feeling that?
My gosh, it was just heartbreaking, very heartbreaking. It was just like, I just want no cancer. I want just to be like watching these other moms, it's just like, they're not going through cancer. This is not fair. This is unfair for me. And it's just been heartbreaking through the whole entire process. And again, like I've been saying all along, with Colin, who has autism, he doesn't understand. But he knows. He just when he saw me going to the ambulance the other day, and he was like, "Woo woo woo." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm hurt," and I'm like, "Yeah, mama's hurt." Woo woo woo. I'm like, "No ambulance." And then he's
Mm.
like, and then that way he kind of understands, and when he sees it. But when he would tell me, because he's nonverbal, but he's starting to do some speech therapy through school, which has been a
Mm.
big plus. But with him not understanding, but with the words and the things of being around him has been wonderful. Then I can understand what he's trying to tell me. And it's
Mm.
just, it it really makes me like teary-eyed, makes me like happy that he was going woo woo woo, and it's like hurt, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, mama's hurt, but mama doesn't need to go into the ambulance, and mama doesn't need to go to woo woo woos. It's like he knows, but
Yeah.
when I tell him I don't need to go, and then he's like, and he gets like all happy, and he's like, yay, like mama doesn't need to go. And so if he sees it, then like he saw it, then that's when I was like, what just happened?
Mm.
But it was just this kind of like really cute when he did it for the very first time.
Yeah.
And then he just started saying mom the other day. I was up here laying down in bed and I wasn't feeling well. And he comes in to the door and he's like, mom, mom, mom. I'm like, did he just clearly say mom the very first
Wow.
time? And so he he puts a smile on my face. He doesn't make me think of cancer. He makes me think of happy things, positive things. Put a smile on my face all the time. And
Mm.
that's how I kind of cope with him. And just think of, you know, and going back to your question, it's like I didn't think I was going to be here to watch him get onto the bus for the first time. I didn't think I was going to even see him go to school for the very first time. I didn't think I was going to make it to my last Christmas.
Mm.
But like again, it's like, do I have one more year? And it's been 5 years I've been fighting this, and I'm like, I can go another 5 years and still fight it. But you know what? I learned through the whole entire process is like, don't rush yourself. Think of happy things. Do family things. Keep your head up. Think positive, and just take it day by day. And that's what I've been doing, is taking everything day by day. I'm not gonna be like, you know what? I don't care if he's going up to college. I won't be here. I don't care. I don't think that. It's like,
No.
you know what? If he graduates from high school and I'm still here, that would be wonderful. But if not, I always tell him I'm always in your heart. I love you. Like I tell him that like every day. Like mama's always in your heart. And I love you so so much. And it's like I kiss him goodbye. I get him on the bus and it's like you have a good day. I'll see you when you get home. It's not see you later, goodbye. It's like I'll see you when you get home from school. And
Mm.
that's how I put it in perspective.
Yeah. I love that because what you just shared is such a sweet example of, okay, yeah, you didn't get the pregnancy, the delivery, the first few years of life with your son, like the way that you maybe envisioned it. And in the midst of it, you got to hear him say mom for the first time. And that you get to like see him get on the bus or you get to experience these things and it never takes away the ache of maybe what you wish would have been, but I think this your story is such a great example of like it doesn't mean you have to dismiss that ache or that desire and just get it out of your head. Like you can hold it there and still focus your attention on the things that you are experiencing and the blessings and the joys that are in front of you, even if it looks different than you first expected. And yeah, getting to hear your son ask if you're hurt and if you're going on the ambulance in his own way, that is maybe a a more intimate, sweet memory than something else that you wish you would have experienced. And again, there's room for both. It's not like, oh, well, who cares you didn't get that? You get this. It's like, no, it matters. Both of them matter. And you can have that ache, that pain, that desire, and realizing like this is what's in front of me and this is what I'm focusing on because it is such a blessing. Yeah, okay, I want to go back to how you were talking about your time with Inheritance of Hope. And I know this was a resource you found and it was recommended. And yeah, tell me some things that maybe before Inheritance of Hope you were worried about or you were struggling with that being a part of Inheritance of Hope has helped that. I guess like one example is, did you have a large community of people before the Legacy Retreat and before the Hope at Home groups that really knew what you were going through? Um, yeah, I guess I'll stop talking, but
No, you're fine.
yeah.
Matter of fact, no, not at all. There was like, it was just all because of the groups that, Chris reached out to. And one of one of the moms, she had two younger kids, but she has passed away to cancer already. And she was the one who mentioned about Inherence of Hope. She was the one that talked to us about getting into it. And when she was talking about it, she said it's going to be good for Colin because there's going to be kids his age that are going through what we're going through. And then it went into like, once we got into it and we went down to Florida, it was nice to hear other people's stories in the groups. And with that being said, it was, I was like hearing other stories and then sharing my story. It was like heartbreaking because it's like everyone in this group has young kids.
Yeah.
And when we were told about the Hands of Hope, it was like, it was kind of bringing joy to my family about, getting to know families, doing group things, doing, exchanging numbers. That's another thing is too, when they were talking about, here's a list of people, we're going to pass around names and numbers, contact them. And then since then, there's been a couple of people that you probably know that I don't want to mention any names, but they're still part of the Inheritance of Hope. And the volunteer that got me through you, she mentioned me about my story. And it's just, I like to share my story through Inheritance of Hope because you think you're alone, but you're not alone. And you think you're the only one, but you're not. Just having growing that close relationship with other people through the Inheritance of Hope has been wonderful. And they have been great. Like they're there for you. And they would like text me and be like, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And they're like, I'm like, I haven't had a bad day. They're not like, I'm so sorry. Do you want to talk? And then they're like, talk or like, we'll text. And then on Friday mornings, I joined the Parents of Hope group. And Jill, who is the person that was in charge of it, she's been wonderful. Just hearing other people and just hearing, what's going on with their lives. And it's just been just hearing other stories and what their upcoming, you know, what's coming up with their next situation is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you said earlier, if it's not something that you're able to show up for a season, like if you haven't been attending groups, yeah, your seat is still saved. I always say, like, Inheritance of Hope is this long, ever-growing table where you always have a seat saved, and we have your name, like a place card with your name on it. And if you have to step away for a season, and if you're going through chemo and you're not feeling well and you can't show up regularly,
Right.
okay, we still have your seat saved. Like, come as is beneficial for you and come to the Friday morning meetings as you can. And if you can't, you still know that the people in that group are thinking about you when they don't see you on that group. And they're praying for you, and they can send you that text of, hey, I know you just got your 3-month scans. How did they go? Or how are you feeling about it? Because I know scanxiety is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So just having the group of people who get it, and I know we talk a lot about this on the podcast, but people often say, like, I have a great family system or a church that I attend or neighbors, but if they aren't in illness themselves or they haven't experienced loss themselves, it's helpful, but there's like a missing piece. And that's the place where Inheritance of Hope comes in, where it's like, I don't have to explain to you how big of a deal it is to go and to get your scans and all of the emotions I'm feeling, because they feel it too, or like, their loved one goes through it. And so that is the beautiful piece about Hope at Home groups, the legacy retreats, all of those things, because it's connecting with people who get it.
Facing terminal illness is difficult enough, but you don't have to go through it alone. Whether you're at home, in a hospital bed, or on the road, join us. We are a community of people that get it. Find the connection, support, and hope you deserve. Because when you don't know where to turn, you can always find hope at home. So don't waste another second. Sign up today. Hope is waiting for you at inheritanceofhope.org.
Yeah. And especially, I didn't understand cancer until I went through it. And it's just like, you don't understand what I'm going through. Like, if you were with me 24/7, then you understand, but you're only here for like a short period of time, and people don't see that. And not to bring this up, but I have no support from my family, like no family support. And that's what's been the hardest part is um, family that moved away from us, people in our family that are not here. But on the plus side, I have Chris and his family, and that's important to me. Like they're the one who considers like, hey, how can we help you? Here, this is what we can help you with. It's not much, but we're here to help you and Chris and Colin. And that's what, and his family has been wonderful.
Hmm.
But I just think of them as my family, of course.
Yeah.
But with my family, I just kind of like, okay, I have to be with my family that who's there been the most. And my husband can't work because like he it's like who's gonna watch Colin, who's gonna take me to chemo, and and I haven't worked, but I don't need to work. My work is taking care of Colin and taking care of myself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that's just yet another example of that tension of, man, I wish I had support from my family. Like,
Yeah.
that would be the ideal thing, and there's an ache and there's pain in that. And in the other hand, like holding them both together and being like, this is hard. And we have support from like my husband's family, and like not this doesn't have to be the case for you. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I've heard other people on this podcast refer to the inheritance of hope communities that they are in feeling like family.
Yes.
Yes, where it's like you can fill that gap where it's like, man, ideally I would have support from my actual like blood relatives. And if that's not the case, like we are still linking arms over here, and we are like joining in. We always say, like, we want to run towards people when everyone runs away, because cancer diagnosis, the word terminal or legacy, or things that it's like, oh, that feels scary and I don't know how to engage with that, so I'm not going to engage, or I'm going to run the other way, which it sounds like that's maybe the case with your family, where it's like, hands off, I'm not engaging. We, Inheritance of Hope, want to be like, okay, no, we're running towards you. There's obviously needs and a desire for community. So let's be community together. So yeah, the tension, and that feels like what we talk about often of Jaro, joy in sorrow. It's like, yeah, I know it's a new term we're like bringing out a lot recently, but Jaro, where it's that tension of like, man, I wish it was this way. There is this sorrow and ache, and in the midst of it, there is joy, and they can coexist. Yeah, I guess hearing Jaro, was this the first time for you hearing that term? What comes to mind in your own story of like an example of that joy and sorrow together?
When I going back to Indians of Hope with that group of people have brought me joy because here, it kind of like this is family, even though we're not, related, but it's related through Indians of Hope, and they bring me so much joy and so much peace and sorrow. It's just like this is what a family should be like, not being rude or, oh, you don't have cancer. We're just going to back off and we're just going to just poison you. And that's how my family has been towards us. And watching these moms that are, young moms that are going through it, it's like, you're a really cool mom, or,
Hmm.
that you're a really cool person, that you're supporting other people. And that's what I really love about.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. I love that because, maybe you don't have an uncle or a brother or a cousin or someone who will text you like, hey, how is chemo treating you? But you have people from your Hope at Home groups, or the people you met on the Legacy Retreat, or even like Nicole Conti, who was your volunteer in Florida. She was like, Ellie, you have to interview this woman. Her story is so good. Like, these are the people who like see you
Yeah,
and like pursue you and like run towards, when a lot of people, just in general, like a lot of people feel isolated
yeah,
um and removed from support. But when you add a cancer diagnosis in there, that just escalates things a lot. So I'm so encouraged that you have found that in Inheritance of Hope, especially in the midst of feeling that ache of like, man, I wish I had more family support or anything like that. So I love that you have that.
yeah. And Nicole, she's been awesome. Like, even though we have, she lives in like a different state, but I mean, we still have that connection. And we text, and she always says like, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? I missed you in the group. It's just, kind words, and that doesn't take long, just to say something so kind. And it's just like
Hmm.
my family can't say anything kind. And there's a young mom that has older two teenagers, and she's going through ovarian cancer. And she reached out to me and came out to find out that she and my husband went to school together in
Oh.
college, and her mom had cancer. Now she has cancer. And
Oh.
then we started reaching out and we started talking, and she always asks like, how are you doing with your scans? How are you? Like, I have scans coming up, and like, I'm scared. I'm petrified. I'm like, yeah, me too. Like,
Mm.
you don't know, especially scans every 3 months. They're scared. They're petrified. You don't know if the cancer's coming back. If you're going to get clear scans, it's just mind racing. You can't sleep. You can't eat. It's just like you're pacing. It's just like I just want to keep my fingers crossed and be like, I just want good news, good news, good news. And
Mm,
then it's just like, that's not what I wanted to hear. Oh, that's good news that I got
right.
scans. Or it's just like, that's not what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I love that the Inheritance of Hope community gets it. That's
Uh-huh.
something we say, like, this is a community that gets it, and it's like, yeah, me too. I feel that as well, and I'm in it with you.
Right.
Um, and I love that you've been plugged into multiple different services within Inheritance of Hopes because the retreat is a one-time thing. It's on site. You get close to people very quickly, and then you all kind of go back to your own home. So it's like, yay, you have this amazing experience, and then it's kind of back to real life, which is why we do our Hope at Home groups where it's like, no, every single week we're staying in touch with people and getting plugged into this community. And our Hope Hubs, we have cities across the US where we meet monthly with other people who get it so that it's not a retreat, we're not sending families to Disney every month, but it's like in your city, we are meeting and we're having a meal together. We're doing games. The parents break off to do our own sessions and the kids break off and do their own games because there's such a need for that ongoing support. Like the retreat is like the mountaintop experience, but then it's like, okay, when you're in the valleys, we have touch points and we're still together.
No one wants to face terminal illness, but the reality is more and more parenting age people are being diagnosed with cancer and other illnesses, and every day in the US alone, 562 kids will experience the heartbreaking loss of a parent due to terminal illness. But here's the good news. You don't have to face it alone. Join a hope-filled community of care that truly gets it. Whether you're living with illness or navigating life after loss, find comfort in local gatherings, ongoing support, and compassionate volunteers. And the impact? It's life-changing. Families are getting connected, finding hope, and changing the way they navigate illness and loss because together, hope is possible right in your own city. Find connection at inheritanceofhope.org.
So for you to continue being in the Inheritance of Hope services is such good news, and they're obviously all of the costs are covered by donors so that families don't have to pay for any of it, which is just such a gift because, yeah, like you said, your job is taking care of your body, keeping healthy, and for your son, and like, so I guess what does it mean to you that you got to experience this because of generous donors? And I guess what would you say to them if there are people listening who maybe give monthly so that we can do these retreats or these groups?
I've heard people say that they've done fundraisers, and that was a good thing to do. We've never done
Yeah.
that, but we've done like the GoFundMe, and that was pretty much it because I just helped with mostly like the bills and the major surgery out in California because California was expensive, and
Yeah.
that was the big go for us is that and then staying out there for a month and my surgery. But the only thing that was really with no cost was flying to Florida because they took care of everything. And that was really, I couldn't thank them enough just to fly out to, Orlando and just being like, we'll take care of everything and you don't need to do anything. We'll get everything covered. And it was just like, wow, we got like a free stay, free everything. Like they did everything. That was a relief. Like
Hmm.
I've never heard of anybody say that to like us before. And that was just pack your bags and come to Florida and we'll take care of the rest. And then they
Yeah.
said, do you need a walker? Do you need a wheelchair? We'll provide that for you. And I was like, what?
Yeah. That's so incredible. And like you said, like the GoFundMe, like there's obviously so many other expenses when you have to go through treatments and doctor's visits and figuring out insurance stuff. And like that's a whole nother thing, I'm sure. So to be able to like have something so focused on memory making, legacy building, just family connection. And that being covered is just such a gift. So I guess if anyone is listening to this podcast and you are a monthly giver or you've donated to Inheritance of Hope in the past, like, thank you, because, listen to Alyssa's story, like how meaningful it was for her family just to go and have a carefree weekend thanks to you. So that's just so incredible. And yeah, hope that's compelling too. Like, keep giving and help make it possible for even more families to experience that. Because I think, yeah, Alyssa, your stories and testimonies are very compelling. So
Thank you.
yeah. Well, we always end every single episode with the question of whose life and legacy has been impactful for you. So who has been so influential in your life that you kind of have carried the baton of how they lived theirs?
Like as like my spouse or like in
Yeah,
Chris has
anyone.
Chris has been amazing. He's the one who's my caregiver. He's the one that I can give like a trophy to because he does my doctor's appointments. He lines everything up. He takes me to my appointments, and we have his dad come and watch Colin. And he has been he's been a wonderful husband who's been there the most, and I can't thank him enough. And it's been wonderful to have him in my life.
Yeah, honestly, shout out to all the caregivers out there. They handle so much responsibility and are juggling so much, but they aren't the cancer patient. They aren't the ones like getting the questions always of like, hey, how are you doing? So we also have a caregiver support group through our Hope at Home group. So that is another great place for our caregivers to connect, to say like, man, this is hard, or, I'm struggling with insurance in this way, and this is something that I'm going through. And so that's really special. And yeah, shout out to Chris and all the other caregivers, because it is such meaningful work that maybe is a little bit more behind the scenes. So giving you the spotlight, and it's so worth it.
Yeah, matter of fact, I found out that I was able to be eligible for Medicare. So Medicare was able to pay for my chemo and my meds. So that's been a big plus for being on Medicare, because I thought you were supposed to be, I'm not 65 and older,
Yeah.
but since I have this terminal illness, they said, we got you covered.
Wow. What a blessing. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Alyssa. This has been such a sweet time. And yeah, you have a very incredible story, and you've been on the news and shared this before, you said, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I'll find that news clip and I'll put it in the description box. So if anyone wants to hear more of Alyssa's story, you can check that out in the link below. What a gift. And in, a couple seconds here at the end of your podcast episode, we'll be playing your family's customized legacy song. So I'm excited for you to hear it and for our listeners to hear it as we wrap up this episode. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
27 weeks alone, counting kicks a night, talking colors for the nursery, trying to get it right. Then the words came fast and heavy, rooms with screens and scans, learning how a heart can hold two truths in one small hand. Always full of questions, memorizing calls, different faces, different answers, and none of them feel small. I learned how patience stretches when you don't know when. And then I heard his first cry and breathe again. little bikes down the street. No matter what the future holds or where the road might lead, every step you take from here on out, you carry part of me. I'm with you in the love we share and who we get to be. I didn't know how far I'd make it when this all began. Now I measure life in moments I can hold inside my hands. Carlin's birthday candles, cake all on his face. My first Mother's Day, just staying in that place. Some days the numbers looked heavy, some nights felt long, but we mark every step forward like its own small song. I don't borrow trouble from what I can't see. I choose the now, that's where I'll be. Love the way we laugh out loud at jokes we've told before. Paint on our fingers, papers taped all over doors. Monster trucks on the living room floor, racing through the day, watching the same old show again. We quote every line we say. Long walks after dinner, little bikes down the street. No matter what the future holds or where the road might lead, every step you take from here on out, you carry part of me. I'm with you in the love we share and who we get to be. If the days get quiet and the answers take their time, listen close to ordinary moments. I'm there in every sign, in the way you show up for each other, in the love you choose. That's how I stay close to you. I love the way we laugh out loud at jokes we've told before. Paint on our fingers, papers taped all over doors. Monster trucks on the living room floor, racing through the day, watching the same old show again. We quote every line we say. Long walks after dinner, little bikes down the street. No matter what the future holds or where the road might lead, every step you take from here on out, you carry part of me. I'm with you in the love we share and who we get to be. Right here in the life we made, that's where I stay.